Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides, poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp.
Yes, it is. It is time for hemp, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the big broadcast today. As always, we're going to be focusing on this amazing plant known as cannabis hemp. It has a remarkable history going all the way back to the beginning of time, and we don't have enough time to cover all that information, but we're going to cover some information that you might find of real benefit. And don't forget, you can go to timeforhemp.news and find all of our past programs and lots of free music that you can download, add to your playlist, and share with your friends. And anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, we ask you hit your pipes, your bongs, your vaporizers, and take time for hemp, as we're going to be doing today with my joint host, Al Byrne. Hey, Al Byrne, how's things going for you today?
Well, I'm in Florida, and it's beautiful and sunny and warm, and I feel bad for all you people up north, but I'm not up north, so I just feel bad for you. And Casper holds up my book for country and cannabis, and it's a 40-year saga of my experience with medical cannabis. How did medical cannabis come about in the United States and the world anyway, in the more modern sense? And it's a book about how that happened and who did it. And I want to read you the first sentence of my book, and because I think it's certainly applicable to the fight to get cannabis and hemp recognized, but it's also applicable to our program right here. Here's the sentence. The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject. Okay, and that comes from a very old Roman ruler named Marcus Aurelius, smart dude.
I love that. That's great.
But it also portends what's in the book. I had to deal 40 years with people that knew nothing but had an opinion. And we don't have opinions here. We deal in real stuff. And one of the guys that helps me do that is a joint host. I'm sorry, I keep saying co because it's what I do. But joint host, Al Graham up in Ontario, Canada, which is quite a bit different in temperature, I assume, from where I am.
Oh, yes, for sure. No matter what season that people are watching this in, the temperatures are always different up here in Ontario than they are down there in Florida. How you guys doing? Good?
Pretty groovy. Welcome to the show, Al. And I know that you do a lot of broadcasting up in Canada as well.
Yes. You can find the Pace Network at paceradio.net. And there we cover psychedelics as well as cannabis. And we have broadcasting 7 days a week. And you catch our rewrap on the 420 Pace Project on Saturday afternoons.
And I want to thank you for being such a true blue, hardworking activist. You've been at this since they put Christ on the cross, I think. And you're very vocal and very articulate. And you do an amazing job of letting people know how important it is to take time for him. So it is an honor to be the foxhole with you.
Yes, likewise.
And we do have a great guest on today. But before we bring on a guest, let's take a few minutes to explore the revolutionary material that's changing the face of sustainable building, hempcrete. Hempcrete isn't just a gimmick. It's a biocomposite material made from the inner woody core of the hemp plant. When mixed with a lime-based binder and water, it creates a lightweight, durable building material. Crucially, hempcrete is not a load-bearing material. It's used in conjunction with a structural frame like timber or steel. One of its primary uses is as a high-performance insulation and wall infill system.
It provides exceptional thermal mass, meaning it can store heat and release it slowly, regulating indoor temperatures. Perhaps most importantly for construction companies today, hempcrete is carbon negative. The hemp plant absorbs more CO2 during its growth than is emitted during the production and transport of the material. Hempcrete is vapor permeable or breathable. It manages humidity naturally, preventing mold and rot. This creates a much healthier living environment compared to synthetic insulation materials. It is also inherently fire resistant. The lime coating protects the hemp fibers from catching fire. Termites and other pests are naturally repelled by the high pH level of the lime binder. Construction companies can utilize hempcrete in several ways, as precast blocks, cast in place on site, or even spray applied. Cast in place allows for monolithic walls with no gaps, providing superior air tightness. Spray application is gaining popularity for large-scale projects, significantly reducing labor time. While it requires a drying period, the overall efficiency of hempcrete systems can speed up project schedules. Being lightweight, it reduces the load on foundations and makes transportation and handling easier for crews. It also provides excellent acoustic insulation, making it ideal for multifamily residential or office buildings. While initial material costs can be higher, the long-term energy savings and durability offer a significant return on investment. Hempcrete petrifies over time, effectively turning into stone, ensuring the structure lasts for generations. At the end of a building's life, hempcrete is fully recyclable and can even be used as a soil conditioner. The global market for hempcrete is expanding rapidly, from Europe to North America and beyond. Recent inclusions in international building codes are making it easier for contractors to get approval. As the hemp supply chain matures, availability is increasing and costs are becoming more competitive. Beyond performance, hempcrete offers a unique, natural aesthetic that appeals to modern, eco-conscious clients. It can be finished with traditional lime plasters, allowing for a wide variety of textures and colors. It's not just for homes. Hempcrete is being used for commercial warehouses and even large-scale industrial projects. For construction companies, training crews in hempcrete application is an investment in the future of the industry. Its ease of use makes it suitable for community-led projects and sustainable development initiatives. Hempcrete is also an excellent choice for retrofitting older buildings to improve energy efficiency. By sourcing hemp locally, construction companies can further reduce their environmental footprint and support local agriculture. Hempcrete production requires significantly less water than traditional concrete, conserving a vital resource. On-site waste is minimized, as offcuts and scraps can be easily reincorporated into the next batch. As we face more extreme weather patterns, the resilience of hempcrete buildings becomes a major selling point. Unlike drywall, hempcrete can withstand flooding and simply dry out without losing its structural integrity. Its lightweight and flexible nature can even offer better seismic performance in certain regions. The bottom line, hempcrete is a viable, sustainable, and increasingly profitable choice for modern construction. Innovation continues with new prefab systems and hemp fiber composites pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The next generation of engineers and builders are already learning the value of these bio-based materials. Sustainable construction isn't just a dream, it's being built right now, all over the world. It's time to build better, it's time to build with hemp. In fact, it's now time for hemp. Thanks for watching. Together we can build a greener future, one block at a time.
And with that said, let me bring on today's guest, Scott McStacy. Scott, thank you for joining us here on the big broadcast.
Hey, everybody. How's it going today?
Good, good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well.
So you got some new projects going.
Yes, they've got quite a few things happening right now.
Well, you've been on the program before. Why don't you let people know a little bit about you again for our new viewers? And then let's get right to what you're doing here on the home front.
Sure, sure. So I'm Scott McStacy. I'm the founder of Seed to Structure LLC. We are a hemp construction company. And what we do is we work with people who are building hemp-based homes and do consulting as well as some of the on-site work in the hempcrete world. And the hemp lime construction is the technical term, as I always point out. But we work with that. I'm also in the education side. I'm working on another thing that's new in the Virginia Industrial Hemp Alliance here in Virginia that we started. We're doing a hemp grain co-op here in the state. And so we're going to be growing for hemp seed for nutrition and, for that on that side
Wow.
as well. So a lot of things happening right now, guys.
Cool.
Where do you work out of in Virginia, Scott? Are you in the Valley or where are you at?
I'm down near Lynchburg, Virginia is where I live.
Okay.
Our network is all over the state, but I'm in Forest, Virginia, which is just next to Lynchburg.
Yeah, so it's a statewide project that you're entering into with this hemp growing for the seed. You're growing for the seed?
Yeah. And the reason we're growing for seed is, there's not a huge market yet for the herd and for the fiber. It's building, it's growing. But in this region, we don't have much of the decortication facilities that we're going to need to have all that processed. So in the short term, we're growing for that grain so that we can get the oil out of it. And then the rest that's left, we're going to make chicken feed additive out of.
Ah, cool.
Chicken feed. All right. Reefer.
All right, I got to say it. And Scott, maybe I talked to you about, but we did a show here. Time for Hemp did a show a while back. You can find it in our archives. And it's called, what's it called? Reefer Roasters. And basically, it's a story of chickens who were fed hemp seed, which is, I think, what you're talking about. And then we took the chickens to the first annual DEA chicken cook-off barbecue, and the hemp chickens won unanimous. That was it, best chicken that these guys ever had. So you're on the right track. I support you highly, and it's great food for chickens, folks. And let's Scott go on this, but it's great food for you too. So pay attention.
It is. It's a superfood, really. There's omega-3 and 6 in there in the right ratio. All the amino acids a human needs to survive is in that seed, as well as a lot of protein, more protein than steak in the same volume, if you think about it.
Right. Yeah. In China for years now, you go to a movie theater in China, they don't serve you popcorn. They serve you roasted hemp seeds, salted.
Yeah.
They're delicious if you've ever had them.
Yeah, it sounds good.
And the oil, have you got somebody up there in Virginia going to make the oil, or how's that going to work out?
Well, we're going to collect our seed and then have a central location where we're going to press that oil out. And then to clarify it and use it. The oil can be used for a bunch of different things. You can cook with it, but mostly it's in cosmetics and things like that is where it gets used. Probably the largest percentage of it. So we're going to be researching this whole process from seed all the way to final product. Everything will be written down and kept records of, and just the whole thing, so we can really try to scale this up. Right now we're looking at 3 farms in Virginia, but we can have as many as 12 for next year.
Wow.
So is this personal expense or is someone sponsoring you?
Well, a little bit of both, actually. I'm glad you asked that, because we're looking for some funding sources now. And we're going to be, the Virginia Industrial Hemp Alliance is going to be working on some fundraising and trying to get some other funding through grants if we can. But that's a little ways off. We have just become a corporation in the state, so we're kind of at the beginning of the thing. So we will be, raising money for that. My company is going to pony up a pretty good chunk to get seed. And then that way we have a little bit to work with to start. But one of the farms is really unique. It's out in Virginia in Fluvanna County. right on the river.
How many acres are you looking at total? Or you have a feel for that?
Well, the first farm, which is our anchor farm, is we have access to 18 acres there.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.
Now we may not get that many under plow, but because we're going to be doing some tests with different seed to see how they react with with different nitrogen levels and whatnot.
Right.
So we'll there may not be a full 18 acres on that particular piece, but there will be a lot there.
So you'd be having to buy a bunch of new equipment, processing equipment and stuff like that in order to do the seed?
Well, we're working with some other farmers to try to use some local equipment and trying to get that's part of the idea of the co-op, is that we work together with other farmers and kind of come together on this so that we can make it happen. So if there's any farmers out there listening, reach out to us, because we're going to need the community to really get behind us, I think, to really make this happen. And I see that happening. I really do, because hemp seed and hemp in general is hard to argue with.
The question, though, I think was equipment, and I don't visualize that you're going to need anything particularly different than if you were planting corn
or grain. Just you need a combine to harvest it, and then some drying equipment. But all that stuff we're going to work on. We've got a local farmer there that we're already working with. So hopefully it won't come from far. There's a lot of equipment in that area. There's a lot of agriculture there.
Like I'm just trying to think of how it would separate the seed from the plant. That's
right. Yeah, there's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would think so.
So now when you do this, do you also have to work hand in hand with state regulators coming onto the farm a lot and checking what you're growing and how it's being grown and doing samples for THC, or do they just go, all right, here's your pass, and then you don't see them till September?
It's kind of more the latter, actually. They don't come on during the season. There's a check at the end. And then there's quite a bit of paperwork to do. There's a planning and propagation report, and then you have to have a harvest report and this and that. So it's really not terribly complicated if you're adept at getting your paperwork done.
Okay.
Now there is a THC maximum.
Mm-hmm.
There is 0.3% of total dry weight volume.
Wow, that's pretty low.
It is, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, in this next farm bill that they're looking at, and some of the other appropriations bills that are coming up, there is language in some of this that will bring that 0.3% up to 1%.
That'd be better.
It would be a lot better. It would help with liability more.
Yeah. And the fact that you could get to the end of the term and be just a little bit over by 0.1%, and it's all for nothing. I mean, well, that's a hell of a risk they got you taking there.
It is.
Does it help any in the publicity of what you're doing to remind Virginians that back in the 1600s, if you had a farm in Virginia, you had to grow hemp or go to jail?
That's right. If you had access to seed in Virginia, you were required to grow it for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And and you could pay your taxes with it. It went both ways. It was a currency, really. Yeah.
And TJ, we affectionately call him. I used to live in Virginia. I'm not a Virginian, but I lived there. The Charlottesville folk and everybody else calls Thomas Jefferson TJ. So backstory on TJ and hemp seeds is, we got this continent did not have hemp on it when the Vikings arrived first, and then Christopher and everybody else. There's no hemp here. The hemp was brought here by European settlers, and as Scott just said, incredibly valuable at the time. It still is, but even back then it was whoa. And so TJ was an ambassador of the United States to France. And like all ambassadors, you can bring your personal stuff back and forth between your country and wherever you're assigned to, without being subject to customs. You know, you're trusted. Mistake. TJ brought in like 5,000 very, very special hemp seeds and planted them on his Monticello and started to make some serious money on hemp. So, you know, but Scott, I would think that would help the politics of what you do.
You know, you're right, because the big thing is it gives a little relativity to the whole thing, you know. Once people realize, I'll give you a couple of really cool little things to think about. The plant itself started as a native species 12,000 years ago in northern China. And then in that period, people they were already eating the seeds, but they decided to start planting those seeds. And that could be, if not the first, one of the first evidences of agriculture by humans. So that's a big one, right? So if you think also that the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, the Scythians, all of these civilizations, they all used hemp, and not just for ropes and sails, but for medicine. It's documented. And so then you phase forward to Virginia. This farm that we're growing on this year, they grew hemp there for over 300 years.
Oh, jeepers.
Yeah. So, you know, there is some relativity there. If you realize that it was grown for that long and it never seemed to cause any problems until 1936 and 37. So it's all a scam, you know. So,
well, of course, and then we can go to World War II. When all of a sudden the hemp plant banned, and now the U.S. government was pleading farmers to plant this hemp. And in World War, they probably got told, some of them, it was World War II. And where'd the hemp seeds come from? Well, damned if the United States didn't have a whole backlog of hemp seeds sitting around. Now you wonder why, you know.
And we needed hemp for victory, hemp for the boats, hemp for the sails. And we need our farmers to go out and grow hemp coast to coast. America needs you to grow hemp.
Scott, what kind of political help, if any, are you getting? And who would they be if we can have some heroes here?
Sure. So, you know, lately it's actually been really good. We had a lobby day with Virginia Industrial Hemp Alliance here about 2 weeks ago. And we were in Richmond at the state capitol. We talked to delegates and state senators. And honestly, outside of one person being skeptical, out of the 20-some people we saw, everybody was really positive about industrial hemp. We don't, this organization doesn't talk about the smoking side or any of that. We're really hyper focused on industrial hemp. And I think they're fighting over the other right now in Virginia. So I think it was refreshing for them to talk about it in a different way. And it really has started to snowball. I mean, we have a delegate that's going to carry a hemp revitalization bill for us next year in the state. And then we're working with the state agriculture secretary to kind of get connected with the governor on it as well. So, things have changed a lot in Virginia, and cannabis is one of the areas that's really going to advance, and it's going to happen very quickly here.
Well, again, to stay with the political question, did you see any preference with the Democrats over the Republicans? Are they all on board, or?
Yeah, it's funny. At first, I thought, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, it's really going to be a bunch of Democrats and maybe a couple of Republicans. Not so much. The Republicans seem almost more jovial about it than the Democrats do, because this is kind of what they originally envisioned in Virginia in 2018. They had a slogan, "Rope, not dope," and they really meant that. They wanted us to be making canvas and materials and textiles. They really thought we'd be able to do that quicker than we've been doing. So I honestly, I got really good vibes from both sides, and even some of the independents. There was one that was a libertarian. He was all about it. So
the rope, not dope line doesn't sound encouraging for the recreational consumer
Well,
cannabis
that
law.
was in 2018 in Virginia when it was still very not illegal or not legal. We
Well,
didn't get legal cannabis until 21. So
and as
Okay.
Scott pointed out, there are some people in the Senate and the Congress who are jumping up and down
Yeah.
when that paperwork was stuffed into the we got to reopen the government bill last December at the last minute. Ron Paul Jr., is that his name? Ron Paul? Is that who it is?
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul. Rand Paul was all upset because he pointed out it's going to be creating a problem in his state for the economy because they have a large number of businesses that rely on hemp as a commodity, not just for ropes, but for gummies and for different types of foods and drinks. And then there's also the recreational aspect of it that's bringing in dollars as well. And I'm sure he had to listen to Gatewood Galbraith at one point, because Gatewood pointed out that Kentucky, when hemp was legal, was the wealthiest commonwealth in the nation. And so there are a handful of congressmen and senators who are Republican that recognize that hemp is money, hemp is jobs.
Yeah, but let me go back to the percentage. You know, it's not making any sense to me, Scott. Virginia has legalized the use of cannabis as a medicine and recreationally for adults, correct?
Well, yes and no. So they did medically, yes. Recreationally, what they did was they made it legal to possess it and legal to grow it. But then we got a new governor who, for 5 years in a row, vetoed the rec bill. So we didn't get recreational as a real bill until this year. This year it's going to pass, and we know we're going to get a full recreational market in Virginia. We already know this. The governor kind of campaigned on it, you know.
All right, so that level of cannabis THC, I'm going to concentrate on in recreational cannabis in this coming year will be, is there going to be a limit to the percentage?
No, I don't believe the percentage on the flower will be limited, but they will have limits on how many milligrams you can have per serving and per package.
Okay,
We
well,
have
that makes
that
sense.
here. Yeah, we have
Let's
that here in
go.
Canada.
But let's go back to the hemp thing. That makes no sense. If you're trying to grow hemp at 0.03% THC, and they're selling shit at 12%. I mean, why are they restricting you to do this? Why the hemp industry is really putting screws on you, and it seems unnecessary when the state itself has released the screws on the other part of the industry.
Yeah, you said a mouthful there, Al, because you know they really are. They're over regulating hemp. And I'm not saying they're under regulating marijuana yet. They're not. They're going to regulate that very strictly as well.
That's
But
okay.
they're over regulating, especially industrial hemp.
Yeah.
There is no reason that I have to get my fingerprints taken every year and sent in. I send in the same blank rap sheet to the state every year. You know, it's untenable. And they also, you know, the other thing is the testing requirements, like you said earlier, Al. You know, that can really kill you. I had a friend lose one of his 5 fields to being hot. And it was worth $2.3 million in CBD, and he lost all of that.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, being a farmer is a tough deal anyway, but being a hemp farmer, you're into a whole different league of tough. Yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to go back to the Virginia situation you're dealing with. How long has it taken you from your idea of, I think I'm going to go do this, to today? Have you been in this for a while?
Yeah, I started in 2018, but you know, even before that, I had colon cancer in 2003.
Cool.
And I had a big tumor that burst. I didn't even know I had the tumor. It was in my sigmoid colon. And I was in extreme pain, and they told me I was dying. There was nothing they could do. And a surgeon from a different hospital saw he saw my tape on the MRI. And so they sent me to this other surgeon who ended up saving my life on the table. But he also saved my life because he sent me home with medical cannabis.
Really? Oh, nice.
He did, and it was a felony at the time for him to do that. And he did it because he knew that was the only thing that was going to get me going back into the right direction. You know,
I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Was that UVA?
no, this was down near the Outer Banks. That's all I'll say, because
Okay.
this guy's actually
Yeah.
very famous, and I think the reason he's as famous as he is because he does what it takes to make sure his clients survive.
Good.
But so I started planting and growing commercial tomatoes for 16 years before I got into this.
Okay.
So I've been really pushing for about 22 years to be able to do what I'm doing.
Right.
Well, it looks like you're almost there. So keep it up, dude.
Thank you.
One of your newest projects that you're working on there is educating the community about cannabis hemp, isn't it?
Yes, I am. And the way I do it is I go to the people. I take my trailer and we pull it out and we get there. I have a mobile classroom and a mixer, and I kind of do my thing, and it's good. It gets people's hands in the mix, and gives them a chance to learn in the field, and that's a good part of it. I'm also working on a college-based online cannabis industry certification process.
Oh, cool.
You would take
wow.
basically 5 courses online, and you would be able to get a certification, for that. So that's one of the things on the burner right now. So,
Scott, let's go back. Start with for our audience. Where does this stuff come from? I mean, nothing just shows up. When did this start? This hemp thing?
well, hemp itself, it was created through the process of selective breeding cannabis, the original cannabis plant. The original plant wasn't like what we know of as hemp. It took 4,000 years to selectively breed it into very, very tall, woody plants. Now, over that period of time, the ancient Chinese were using it for all kinds of things. They found in the Yellow River Valley, they found all these artifacts where they showed they were using hemp even 10,000 years ago. The hemp that we know of today has been bred over that period of time, and then it's been kind of perfected, if you will, since it's been back. I mean, they're working on lots of different genetic varieties and all that. So the history of the hemp and then hempcrete itself, we were talking about that. The oldest thing that we know of that was used where they used hempcrete was in India 1,600 years ago at the Ellora Cave Complex. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site in India. And what it is a massive cave, and they went inside and they formed up walls and corridors and temples and prayer rooms, as well as rooms for the monks to live in. It was massive. And all of that forming was done with a hempcrete-like substance, where the only difference to what we use today was it had clay in it, as well as the lime. So they built this really amazing structure internally with this stuff. It was inhabited for more than 1,000 years without any concerns for fire or mold or any of that.
Wow.
So, there's a long history of using the plant for many, many different things.
Have you been there? Have you been
To
to
India?
that cave?
Not yet. I can't wait to visit it because
Yeah, I bet.
it's one of the really amazing things on the planet. It's a beautiful. There's something like 31 temples inside of that cave.
Could you have an idea of, are they still construction worthy at this point?
It's still. I mean, you wouldn't. I'm not sure that modern humans would want to live in it, but it's definitely inhabitable.
Okay. Wow.
Cool. And it probably is cool. Probably like temperature controlled, right? Not too hot, not too cold, just right.
So wait a minute. This hempcrete kind of stuff was around 1,600 years ago. Seemed to me it must have disappeared because it didn't come into use again until you tell me, but 100 years ago or something. I don't know.
Well, in France, they believe in the 14 and 1500s they were using a similar composite in France. But realistically, it started over in 1985 in France when France decided to go ahead and re-legalize hemp and start the hempcrete revolution. They really started it in France again.
Okay.
So, you know, they've had 40 years now, roughly, of time and effort, and they have, I wouldn't say perfected hempcrete, but they have certainly advanced it to the point where they have it down to a science. We learn a lot from the French here in America in the hempcrete world. Some of the spraying technology comes from France, and then you know a lot of the people who have come before us were in France doing this the last 40 years. So, as far as a modern history, we don't have a big window. But the window we do have has been very productive. They build in England. They build hempcrete houses in England. They build them all over Europe now. And we are starting to get there here in America.
Hemp is not just hemp. There's different strains of stuff. Is that what you're talking about? That you guys are growing different types of plants, if you will, to see what's better or worse? Is that what you're doing? What are you doing?
With the hemp grain co-op, yeah, we're going to grow different cultivars to see which ones do better in these microclimates, and that's just our own like inner research. You know, we have some varieties that we know will do well here because they were in a Virginia Tech study for a number of years up until 2022. So we have an idea of some that we know will work here. We're going to take those and see how well we can make them work. So, yeah, I mean, you really have to pick the right cultivar for the right area. It's latitude important. You know, you have to know you're on the right latitude with the right cultivar and all of those things.
Well, yeah, our theme song indicates that, sort of indicates that about supporting local farmers, but you're rubbing that in. You're saying, yeah, you better get this stuff local.
Absolutely. Why not? I mean, we need to create circular economies where the local farmers are growing the raw materials. The local businesses are taking those raw materials and making things out of it. And then those raw materials, when they come to the end of their life, like Casper's video said, you can break that down and put it into your compost. So we want to create a truly circular economy and a plant-based economy rather than a petroleum-based economy. Right. I think that's more important than anything, because anything you can make with plastic, for example, you can make with hemp. You know, a lot of things can be replaced by using the hemp. The basic parts of hemp, you can make lots and lots of things with.
You mean my inflated date can be made out of hemp?
I believe so, actually, yes.
Much more realistically, yeah.
But more realistically, like, for example, single-use cutlery, you know, fork, knife, and a spoon.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a guy in Kansas who's making those out of hemp. It's basically crushed up hemp hurd and just starch. And so it's made into this plastic-like stuff. So these things break down in 140 days instead of 500 years for a plastic fork.
Yeah.
So let's let the audience know about growing hemp. Fertilizer needs, water, and compared to cotton or something. Give people an idea.
Sure. So you don't really need a ton of inputs for hemp. You need your nitrogen to be right, you know, because it is nitrogen dependent. But as far as pesticides, you don't really use any, you know, there aren't very many even authorized to use on hemp, but you don't really need it as much. And then as far as water, it uses a lot less water than cotton, a 1/4 or less. From what I've seen, cotton uses a tremendous amount of water, not just in growing it, but in processing it into the fibers. Hemp, you don't have that with hemp. So hemp is a much superior plant to cotton in many, many ways. Cotton uses 1/4 of the world's pesticides.
Oh.
Wow, I
There,
didn't know
there
that.
is one question I don't know if anybody's addressed yet, or even thought to ask it, because it's not one that you probably would think of unless you're actually getting out in the field and planting this. But if you're a farmer and you're planting stuff, you know that the stuff that you're planting, a lot of it is trademarked by Monsanto, or some company owns the copyright to this corn or to this soybean. And if they find a strand of their corn growing in your field, they can sue you or make you take your corn down, or what. Who owns the rights to all these different strains of hemp?
You know, that's a great question, Casper. Yeah, and the answer is a little ambiguous. Currently, I don't believe anybody owns any of the cultivars per se. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that in the future they may patent it. They may be able to patent certain cultivars, but currently as far as I know, they don't do that with hemp. And I am a believer that it needs to be an open source commodity, and that people can have access to it without having to be exclusive with this or that, and without, with a licensing and all that. We don't need that. We need hemp to expand, and we need it to be part of the local economies with the local farmers all over the country. I mean, and to do that, we can't use the same model as Monsanto. I really don't think we should go there.
So that means right now the farmers that are putting in acre after acre after acre are not required to be paying a large company some kind of trademark fee or some kind of portion of their profit to grow their seeds. So it's more of a safe commodity to grow at the current time. Is that correct?
It is, and there are some requirements of some of the seed providers. They may have certain requirements about what you do with the seed. In other words, they don't want you to come back and compete with them about using the seed. You have to use your seed for protein or whatever. And there are agreements like that. But I think for the most part, it's open.
Right.
Where do you get these seeds anyway? I mean, you're
Yeah,
going to make a decision about various plants. But how are you? Where are you getting the seeds from? We've had seed growers on here from New Zealand selling their seeds to Texas. So are you that broad?
I'm not going to be that broad this year. We're looking at a company in Pennsylvania that does the seeds. King's Agri-Seed is one of the ones we're talking with. And they use some of their genetics come from New West Genetics out in Colorado. And so, we are going to be using some of these, but they're going to be relatively close. They're not going to be, long distance and all that. So, that helps a lot in that regard. And plus these guys that are in the same region, they know what will grow at what latitudes.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too.
It's very important. Yeah. It has to match.
Jimmy Buffett, huh? Changes in attitudes, changes in latitudes.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that goes for pot plants too. I didn't realize that. Well, Scott, have you got any way that you want to, before we got a few more minutes here, but before we go away, you want to tell people how to get a hold of your co-op or your whatever that you've got going on?
Sure. There's a couple of ways to find the Virginia Industrial Hemp Alliance. One is online at virginiaindustrialhemp.org, and that's just virginiaindustrialhemp.org. We're also on Facebook under the Virginia Industrial Hemp Alliance. So there's a couple of ways you can get through to us. We are recruiting new members now, and you don't have to be a Virginian to be a member. We want allies and supporters all over the world because this is so important. So if you're out there and you see this, come see us. And if you're interested, join and help us, because we've got a big row to hoe here.
Okay. What else can you have we missed that you want to bring up about how to use? How about how many? I mean, we're talking about a building. What kind of building? Any kind of building? How big a building? Can I build a skyscraper?
3-bedroom house for an average home, a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah. So,
Fun
you know,
little.
the cool thing about hempcrete is it's incredibly durable, and it can be used in small shed, from a small shed up until, you know, a small apartment building. Skyscraper might be a bit much, but I'm not saying it's outside of the realm of reality. Okay. Depending on your frame and your internal, you know, framing and all that, you could still utilize hempcrete in many places in a skyscraper. Now, it's not, you know, of course, it's not structural, so it's an infill system. But if the structure's right and it can carry the building, I don't see any situation where you couldn't really utilize hempcrete as a building material
Well,
if you're creative.
I was going to take it with the idea of it's lighter than the traditional, the stuff that it would replace. And I was thinking on a skyscraper, less weight on that foundation's got to be a positive.
Yes, I believe
Yeah.
you're right, and that's something I see coming in the future is more commercial applications of this plant.
Yeah,
And I mean, with the hempcrete side of it.
right.
I have a really neat design for a small 4-bedroom apartment cube. Basically, it's a cube, and it's all hempcrete, and it's only 2 stories, so it carries everything well. But you know, if you can do 4 little apartments in a little cube hempcrete building, you can help start working on this housing issue that we have to deal with.
Right.
I know I've asked this a couple of times before. I'm always hoping that the answer is going to be different because it's such a progressive way of doing construction. But there is 3D printing currently all the rage, and it seems to be very effective. And it cuts back on accidents happening on, you know, construction sites because you're using machines and not humans. Can hempcrete eventually be utilized to 3D printing?
You know, it's already being done. It's out there.
Yay!
I'm not sure that. Yeah, you were on the right track, Casper. Yeah, it's happening. And you know, I knew it was coming years ago because when I first saw the first concrete 3D printer that printed houses, I knew immediately that hempcrete would be a solution to that, and you know, another solution. Now, I don't know how far along that technology is right now, but I know they are, in fact, working on it for sure.
There's going to be one more question that people are going to want to know about this whole conversation. How does the cost of hempcrete stack up against its competition?
That's a great question. You know, if you had asked me that question 3 years ago, it would have been at least 10% or more than conventional. Now, with the way prices are now and the way services are expensive, it's comparable, I believe. I think you could do it, you know, comparably in either, you know, the conventional style or a hempcrete style if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's achieved somewhat of a parity now, and that's only and mostly because of how expensive everything is. You know, honestly. But you know, there are a lot of cool things happening. You know, they're doing panelized walls now, and the spraying techniques. You can do a lot of really neat things that you couldn't do 10, you know, even 15 years ago, unless you were in France. So, you know, there are a lot of things happening right now.
So you'd say competitive.
Competitive, yes. I would say, you know, maybe a few percentage points more, but you know, when you do a hempcrete wall, you replace your vinyl siding, your sheathing, your internal fiberglass insulation. You also get rid of the drywall and the paint. So all of those materials are gone. Plus, every single one of those contractors that had to come in, they didn't come in either.
That's a lot of labor.
That alone that alone is a big savings. Never mind the difference in the prices between concrete and hemp.
Well, and for all we know, these new concepts and new inventions may have come from another dimension. Perhaps we are using alien technology. We are backtracking our technology for farm use now.
I think, you know, alien technology, hemp could be an alien technology. They may have stopped here and dropped a seed way back. it's such a perfect plant. You know, it had to come from somewhere like that. So.
Well, when Jack Hare pointed out to me when I first started working for him that the hemp seed is 97% same molecular structure as human blood, you realize this was made for humans, and some creature or some wonderful inventor or creator of the universe knew that this two-legged creature that they just made is going to need this little green thing to help it survive.
Well, that and all our birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best
This little
bird feed
green
in the
thing
world.
certainly helped me survive. So I love it.
Well, you know, birds, chickens, we're back to that discussion, but it's pretty good food.
Well, the discussion that we are back at again, it looks like we are down at the bottom of the hour. I can't believe how quickly this time has gone. Am I right? Am I seeing that right? Oh, my gosh.
It goes. It flies.
When you come on the program, you bring so much knowledge with you, and it really is such a joy to have you as a guest. Time does fly. So you want to give a shout out again how people can get a hold of you?
Sure. So you can get me, you can find us, the Virginia Industrial Hemp Alliance, at virginiaindustrialhemp.org. You can find me also at seedtostructure.com for my company. And then if you need to reach out, you know, just come to either of those and send me an email, and I'll get it, and we'll talk.
And thank you again for being on the show. And Al Byrne, you want to give a big shout out where people can find your groovy book?
Well, I give you enough quotes, but yeah, it's out there. It's a 40-year history of how medical cannabis in the modern day came to be, not only in the United States but in Europe, and who did it.
And Al Graham, how can we find you and your friends?
You can find the people advocating cannabis education at paceradio.net, where everything is in audio or video, whatever your choice.
And anywhere there's sound to be found, Time for Hemp is around making sound about how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for him. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides, poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp. Throughout Earth's history, hemp has been used, no mystery. Hemp was legal to pay you extra more than a centric act. Check if that's it. Think of all its uses. It's money that's well spent. Right now, no excuses. It's time for hemp. Sustainable green industry, that's our intent. A better place this world will be. It's time for hemp. Fuel and food and clothes and soap. Housing, cars, yeah, cars, no joke. Henry Ford built a car, hemp. It's time for us to do it again. People will be employed with balanced farming as it's meant. Right now, it's time for hemp. Hemp is a necessity for the wealth and protection of this country. Thomas Jefferson spoke those words. He knew the value of these herds. Time to lift the hemp, and it's time to make a strong stand. Yes, we can, I know we can. We can make a difference, yes, we can. Just like birds of a feather, we can work together and lift the hemp band. Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for him.